After 40 years of backbreaking work, I sat across from my lawyer and said the one thing I never thought I'd say. I want to leave them nothing. Just months before, I'd discovered my wife and children had found my retirement accounts and bled them dry. This isn't just a story about money. It's about betrayal. It's about the day I decided my own family would have no part in my legacy. Here's how it all went down, and more importantly, how I fought back. My whole life, I lived a simple philosophy: work hard, provide for your family, and save for a rainy day. I didn't come from money. I started my career with calloused hands and a belief that if I put in the hours, I could build a good life. I spent 4 decades in a physically demanding job, grabbing every overtime shift I could. While other guys were buying new trucks and going on fancy vacations, I was putting money away. Every single paycheck, like clockwork, a piece of it went straight into my retirement fund. That fund was my masterpiece. It wasn't just numbers on a screen. It was a promise to my wife that we would finally travel the world together, just like we'd always talked about. A promise that I could retire with my head held high, without being a burden on anyone. And a promise to myself that all the sore muscles and missed dinners would actually mean something. I thought we had a happy life. We had a modest, comfortable home, the kids got a good education, and we never went without the important things. I thought my wife was my partner. I thought we were raising our kids to be responsible, to understand the value of a dollar. Looking back now, I can't believe how blind I was. I was so focused on building a future for them that I never saw who they were really becoming. I saw a loving family. They saw a bank account just waiting to be cracked open. The first warning sign was so small, I almost laughed it off. My son, in his late 20s, came to me for a small loan. He'd racked up some credit card debt, and his story about why kept changing. I gave him the money, along with a stern lecture about being more careful. He swore he'd pay me back. He never did. A few months later, my daughter needed a new car. Her old one was suddenly unreliable. I co-signed the loan, thinking it was a one-time thing to help her out. But then she started taking expensive trips and showing up with designer bags that I knew her salary couldn't cover. When I asked her about it, she just smiled and said she was good at budgeting. Then my wife started. You know, she'd say casually, John down the street just retired and they bought a lake house. Or, I saw the most beautiful diamond bracelet today. I'd remind her, gently, that we had a plan. We were saving for our retirement, for our travels. She'd just sigh and change the subject. The air in our house got thick with this unspoken pressure, this feeling of entitlement. My savings weren't our shared future anymore. They were an obstacle to what they wanted right now. Eventually, they started working as a team. Dad, you've worked so hard, my son would say. You deserve to relax. Let us handle the finances. My wife would chime in, agreeing that I shouldn't have to stress about bills anymore. They were so convincing, and honestly, I was tired. The years of hard labor were catching up to me. So, against my better judgment, I gave them access to help manage some accounts. It was the biggest mistake of my life. I found out on a Tuesday, a letter from my investment firm mentioned unusual withdrawal patterns. My heart started hammering in my chest. I logged into my retirement account, the one I had poured my life into. The number on the screen couldn't be real. The balance, which was supposed to be well into the 7 figures, was gone. Not some of it. All of it. Over 95% had been drained in just 6 months through a series of transfers and withdrawals. I couldn't breathe. The room started to spin. With shaking hands, I printed out the statements. Transfer to my son for a business investment that apparently went bust. A massive payment to a luxury car dealership for my daughter. Thousands and thousands spent at high-end stores from a card my wife had linked to the account. I confronted them that night, the papers spread across the dining room table. There was no remorse, no shame. My son just stared at me and said, "We were going to tell you." The investment went bad. My daughter started crying, but not from guilt, from getting caught. But my wife's words, that's what finally shattered me. She looked me right in the eye and said, "It was our money too. You were just hoarding it. We deserve to live a little." 40 years. 40 years of sacrifice, turned to dust, not by a market crash, but by the very people I did it all for. In that moment, they stopped being my family. They were thieves who had just stolen my future. Before I tell you what I did next, the exact legal steps I took to fight back, if this story hits home for you, please hit that like button and subscribe. It tells the platform that stories about protecting yourself are important, and if you've ever been betrayed like this, share your experience in the comments. You're not alone. The next morning, I walked into a lawyer's office. I didn't just want to write a will, I wanted a war plan. My lawyer was blunt. He said, "Jason, in this state, you can't just disinherit a wife. She's entitled to an elective share of your estate as long as you're married." That's when I made the decision. Then, I won't be married. We filed for divorce immediately on the grounds of financial infidelity. By filing for divorce before I died, I cut off her automatic right to my future assets. But I didn't stop there. For the kids, my lawyer suggested something nastier than just leaving them out. We created a generation-skipping trust. Here's the kicker. I put every remaining cent I had, my house equity, my truck, my personal savings, into this trust. The beneficiary? My favorite charity, a shelter for abused dogs. And in my will, I added a specific clause. To my ex-wife and children, I leave the sum of $1 each, so that no one can claim I forgot them. This dollar represents the value they placed on my hard work. It was airtight. They could scream, they could cry, but legally, they were locked out. Of course, they didn't just accept it. Once they were served the legal papers, the calls began. First, screaming and threats. Then, fake apologies and crocodile tears, promising to make it right. But their words were as empty as my bank account. I didn't answer. I let my lawyer do the talking. I know when I'm gone, they'll probably fight the will. They'll say I wasn't of sound mind, but we've prepared for that. My lawyer has built a solid record of my mental competency and a clear, documented history of my reasons. This wasn't a random decision. It was a response to a catastrophic, documented betrayal. The money is gone. I'll never get it back. I won't have the retirement I dreamed of. I've had to go back to work part-time, and I'll probably be working for the rest of my days. But I have something now that I'd lost. My peace of mind. I sold that family house filled with hollow memories and bought a small condo for myself. I'm slowly starting to build a new nest egg, one protected by an ironclad legal wall. It's not about the money anymore. It's about the principle. It's about ensuring the people who destroyed my life won't get to profit from my death. Conclusion. My legacy won't be a pile of money for a greedy family to fight over. My legacy is this story. A warning to everyone out there. Protect yourself. Don't just assume family has your best interests at heart. Put legal protections in place before you need them. Trust, but verify. I sleep better these days, knowing my final act on this earth will be one of principle. My will makes my intentions perfectly clear. I've left them exactly what they left me, a future with zero help from me. And in a strange way, that makes me feel like the richest man in the world. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe for more stories on protecting your legacy, and remember to take care of yourself.